Hello and welcome to You're Wrong About Musicals. I'm Esme,
And I'm now.
and today we are going to be talking about the Ratatouille musical and the unofficial Bridgerton musical.
The musicals that came about predominantly on TikTok during the
Just TikTok.
pandemic. I'm
But
saying
first,
predominantly because I'm pretty sure they did then get spread to other platforms,
yeah, but their origin
but they were
is
on TikTok.
they were on TikTok. But first, we have some news. So
News.
first things first, get excited, everybody. Make your predictions. Pray to whatever god you believe in. The Operation Mincemeat doesn't come out as successful, but the Olivier nominations will be out the day after this comes out.
But once we won't be a week behind.
I'm so excited.
Honestly.
They're live streaming them on TikTok.
Um,
I hope I don't have a class in that time so I can like sit and watch them come out because
yeah, I need to be in the zone. Um, Speaking of mincemeat though,
oh yes.
there's this
Oh
app
yes.
that me and Esme we were meant to start recording literally like 2 hours ago. We've been on this. It's called Mezzanine, Mezzanine Theatre Diary, or something like that. It's
Yeah.
as Esme described it to me, um, good reads but for theatre. I'm when I put out the tweet for this episode, I'm gonna maybe I'll do it before. Can I put our profiles? Can I link
Yeah,
them?
yeah, yeah. Link our profiles
Follow us.
on
Um,
Mezzanine.
I
Maybe I'll
have
post our maybe I'll post them on Instagram as well.
yeah. I'm gonna say this right now. The thing I'm about to say is a joke. Don't actually do this.
Yeah.
We want to review Bomb Operation Mincemeat. It's currently like the top reviewed show.
Yeah.
Its average rating is 4.8. It's the number
Yeah.
one best show on the West End.
Yeah.
That's not true.
Should I
Me and
tell you
Esme have
guys,
both given it half a star.
we had the worst reviews of mincemeat on Mezzanine.
I had a lot of fun writing my reviews. I tried to write a review for everything that I've seen. I'm pretty much succeeded. I'm gonna go back later.
Hmm.
I don't know if I'll do this before this episode comes out. I might have to be reminded. Put in the reviews for the shows that I don't have pictures of on my phone that I just have physical like programs
Yeah.
from.
Yeah.
Because my phone only has saved stuff as far back as like 2018. So that's the earliest stuff I have.
Yeah.
But I
I
haven't seen
mean,
these shows for a while.
yeah, no, I only have stuff going back to 2018.
It is
Um,
crazy, by the way. I have 5 shows listed here that I saw before the pandemic. And then the
yeah.
other 15 are since 2022.
Oh yeah, no, same. 16 last year. I feel like that's pretty impressive. But yeah, if you follow us over there, you might be able to see our theatre reviews before we talk about them on here.
And if you follow us over
Um,
there first and then you come over here, you can hear our reviews in more depth.
on more depth, other than I think what's my favorite review that I've done? Probably for Mincemeat, actually. Don't get it, kind of sucks. Everything about this show pisses me off. Why is the worst seat in the theatre 80 quid? Get a grip.
We're waiting to see if my mincemeat one gets taken down.
Because they think
My
some
one was,
computer might like flag it.
yeah, I'll say this right now. It's a bit of a long review, but my review was, well, certainly a show. The production was for sure put on. Genuinely, I had to change this next sentence because it was a bit much before. But it's now genuinely need to know what they are giving to the 10 people who go and see it every day. Straight pricing your seats is a surefire way to get me to avoid a show because I should not have to pay £70 to sit in the back of the theatre. There are some funny jokes, but a lot of the writing feels lazy. If you want to see mincemeat done right, watch Spies Are Forever on YouTube. And while some of the songs are good, it does sound like every other contemporary musical put through ChatGPT. Sorry for being a hater. If you like it, that's fine. However, I cannot stand it. Please stop putting bedazzled Nazis on stage and calling it Best New Musical. Also, if you have a set, please use it before the finale. So waiting to see if it gets taken down.
Yeah. What was I going to say? You guys, I will post how many on Mezzanine, how many times I cry when I go see Les Mis this month. And also another show.
I talked about crying during Newsies. I talked
I
about that here too,
talked
though.
I talked about crying in during Next Normal. I talk about that all the time. Um,
Yeah.
there's another show that I'm like, I might cry at that we're seeing this month.
This month. Oh fuck.
We're seeing it in literally 21 days. Crazy times. But moving on. My final Olivier Award predictions, Sunset Boulevard's gonna get noms across the board. I am praying to whatever I'm not religious, but like if God exists, Next to Normal will get noms. Operation Mincemeat will hopefully get nothing, fingers crossed.
I hope it gets a
Um,
nomination. I hope it
mm,
doesn't win.
Interesting. I'm intrigued to see what's gonna happen with Hades Town.
I was telling my dad about it, and I was
Mm,
telling him about the review that knocked off a star for the unhappy ending.
yes.
And he was literally like, "What would these people do if they went to go see?" And he said like a fellow. He had like a specific example. My dad's really into it. He's seeing Phantom of the Opera in Dubai right now. I'll dox my dad. I don't care. Um, yeah.
I'm also
And what would they do with Macbeth or King Lear? Also,
yeah,
sorry, update on the situation. My dad's seeing Phantom and he's offered to buy me merch. And
yeah.
he said he will send a photo of the merch at interval for me to
Oh,
choose what I want.
amazing.
I love that my dad lives in a tax haven. I get so much stuff from it.
Back to the Olivier's. I have no
Oh yeah.
idea what they're gonna do about Hades Town.
They don't like tell you what's eligible.
No, it's really annoying. I think it's eligible.
If
But
it doesn't get
that what's
nominated,
on
the thing is,
stage
okay,
article I sent you were like, they don't know whether or not it's eligible. They were like
I think my
speculating.
thing is, if it is eligible, it will
Yeah.
be nominated this year.
Yes,
If
100%.
it doesn't get nominated, it wasn't
It wasn't
eligible.
eligible.
There's
Exactly.
no scenario where it's eligible and doesn't get nominated.
Yes. Yeah, no, 100%. I can also see Big Little Things getting some nominations. Fingers
I
crossed.
think it will. I'm
Um,
thinking, Standing at the Sky's Edge is, oh,
that's
that might
not
not
eligible.
be.
That won it last year. Anyway, moving on to another show I want to see. A play called I'm Going to Marry You, Tobey Maguire, is transferring from off-Broadway to the Stomach Playhouse. Very exciting. I want to see it. Another play. We're doing some play news today, guys. Look at us.
We're becoming cultured,
We're cultured people. A play about
obviously.
Roald Dahl's anti-Semitism is being produced at the Royal Court Theatre in Chelsea. I'm very excited. Bringing the vibe down. Angela and Webber tried peanut butter this week.
Multiple people have been approaching me about things this past week.
Yeah.
I've got like 5 people I like know slightly being like, so what's going on with Wilbur Sir? And I'm like,
Wait,
leave me alone.
who is doing that? Anyone
One of
I
my
know?
housemates who might now be
Oh,
listening to this, one of my friends from my course
oh yeah.
sent this to me, being like, Nell, oh my
Who
God, did
else
you
sent
see
this to
this?
you? Because I sent that
You
to you.
sent it to me. And my housemate again sent it to me.
But it's pretty normal for me to send you updates on what Andrew Webber's doing.
Yeah. My sister sent it to me as well. The same group, maybe I only have like 5 people who I know.
No, you know more
No,
than five
I
people.
know more people.
It
I'm
makes sense
chatty.
for
I'm
it
outgoing.
makes sense for me and your sister to send it to you though.
Yeah. My housemate kind of makes sense because,
Yeah,
he knows.
he knows about Andrew
Um,
Webber. He tried peanut butter
yeah,
this week.
it's a stupid video. He's literally, I
I don't
hate
like that.
peanut butter.
Do I have to swallow it
He's
soon?
like, and this one's crunchy. My God, Andrew, do you hate fun and whimsy?
Andy, go back to like writing a bad musical, please. That's gonna crash and burn insanely.
Please give us another musical.
Please give us another bad Cinderella. I need it. Um,
I think
Revive it.
I think that's we can do it.
Spamalot announced that it would be closing. It was original. I mean, the fact that the revival of Spamalot has lasted as long as it did was quite impressive.
I think the thing with Spamalot is I'm not like sad it's closing because it was always going to.
Yes, yeah.
I think it was really fun while it lasted.
Days of Wine and Roses will unfortunately be closing. Days of Wine and Roses will unfortunately be closing, which is very sad because I like
Yeah.
Kelly O'Hara and I love Adam Gettle. Shout out to my man, Adam Gettle. He is literally the second Sondheim in some weird way. His like grandfather is Richard Rogers.
I was going to talk about something else. I was going to talk about Love Never Dies.
We're at our discovery.
Esme texts me. I'm in the middle of a seminar, and she goes, "Nell, did you know that the Oscar Hammerstein in Love Never Dies is not Oscar Hammerstein? It's his father."
It's his grandfather. I got it wrong.
Men need to come up with better names because how were there like what 2, 3 of you named Oscar
So,
Hammerstein?
because I was looking at it, I was like, I swear all the stuff I've seen about Oklahoma is Oscar Hammerstein the second. So why is it just Oscar Hammerstein on the Love Never Dies Wikipedia page? Don't ask what I was doing on the Love Never Dies Wikipedia page at 2 p.m. on a Sunday.
We won't get into it.
We're
We were talking about this last week. In Love Never Dies, this is gonna get cut again. But in
I'll keep
Love
it in
Never
this time.
Dies, Christine comes to America because she gets a letter saying, "Oh, Oscar Hammerstein wants you to sing at the opening of his new opera house in Manhattan." And she's like, "Of course I will." And then when she gets there, haha, actually, it's the Phantom. But the whole press knows she's there to sing for Oscar Hammerstein. Are there any repercussions for the Phantom impersonating him?
I don't know.
Because my assumption was that it's like what Raoul says in one of his stupid songs.
Yeah.
Sorry, I love Raoul. His character is just decimated.
I did keep
But
in that about Raoul's character being decimated.
Okay, good. But he has a line, I think it's in Dear Old Friend, where basically Madame Jury's like, oh, you're here to sing for Mr. Hammerstein. And he's like, no, he's been outbid. We're here to sing for Mr. Y. And I thought, oh, well, that's what happened then. The Phantom paid Hammerstein off to get Christine to sing. I don't think that's true. So I'm just rounding about Love Never Dies. I'm really into it
What
again.
happens to Gustav? Same. What happens to Gustav at the end of Love Never Dies?
Well, if you're going off the concert production we saw,
yeah,
he gets raised by the Phantom and Raoul, who come up to them with a co-parenting solution.
I was thinking about this. Raoul's an alcoholic, and the Phantom's the Phantom.
Yeah.
Who's gonna deal with Gustav?
Maybe Madame Giry, but you know, her daughter did kill his mother, so not great.
Yeah.
I'm the biggest Love Never Dies Meg defender. She's in the right for every action she takes.
Meg is always in the right, but is Madame Jury the best mother?
No, horrid person.
Exactly.
Again, every character just gets decimated.
I do think it's like I was thinking of Gustav in the same way that I think about like Tam from Miss Saigon, where I'm like, what the fuck is that child's life gonna be like at the end of it?
I'm gonna write a fanfic. And I'm gonna post it to the podcast Twitter. I'm gonna announce when I've posted it from the podcast Twitter. And it's just gonna be and his life after his mother dies.
What, Raoul and the Phantom co-parenting him?
Yeah. I really like the idea because the Phantom does have this massive portrait of Christine in his house. Like, that's a canonical thing from Love Never Dies. Or like the idea of Gustav to grow up with that.
Moving away from Angela Weber.
Moving on to real news.
Real news, serious news. Good, like not good news, but interesting news. Jeremy O. Harris has pissed off Rishi Sunak. My hero. Not Rishi Sunak. Rishi Sunak's not my hero. I hate that man. Jeremy O. Harris.
Anyone who pisses him off.
Anyone who pisses him off in such a Rishi Sunak, go away. This is not your business. So Jeremy O. Harris is bringing his play Slave Play over to the UK, to the West End more specifically. I believe it's going to be.
We want to go see it. We're gonna go see it. It's on one of our long list of things to go see.
So, and because it is about Black people, it's about slavery. It's about racial dynamics. He did this thing on Broadway called Blackout, where it was explicitly said, Black people come to the theatre, white people won't be there. And it was the first time a theatre was explicitly filled by Black people. And it was a very interesting environment, he said. And so the same thing is being done in the UK. Rishi Sunak is pissed about it because, I don't know, man. He was like, it's discriminatory against white people. And it's like, no, it's not.
I think one of the best tweets I saw about it was one by an account named Posh. Great name. Imagine being so entitled that you get butthurt when a play about Black slavery dedicates a couple shows specifically for Black audiences that might not get to see it otherwise, and then still look in the mirror and tell yourself you're not racist. Hashtag Delulu.
Yeah, no. And in an NPR interview or LBC, you know how they have like the same logo?
Yeah.
I believe it was LBC radio interview. I might link it actually because it's really interesting. Jeremy O. Harris like speaks through why he's doing it and tells Rishi Sunak to go fuck himself. There's a genocide going on, which is, you know, the right thing to say when Rishi Sunak comes calling.
Yeah, it's the kind of thing. I don't see how it's any. I was going to say economic, but I don't think it is. Yeah, from an accessibility standpoint, it's not really that different from like releasing discounted tickets for students or having student discounts
or having a student or having
or anything like that. It's like multiple. I think even fucking Mr. Lloyd Webber has said that he thinks more young people should go and see theatre.
Yes.
And has made arrangements for that kind of thing to happen. And everyone's like, this is such a good thing. You know, more young people should see theatre.
And like,
why is it any different for Black people?
Yeah.
Because you're racist is the answer.
No, I think the way that we ensure theatre survival is by explicitly inviting groups who haven't felt welcome in the theatre into the theatre. And that's what Jeremy O'Hara said. He was like, Black people don't go to the theatre. So let's
It's like thing, even with like Hamilton, which was performed by literally all non-white actors, the audience was still very white.
Yep.
People were fine with the action because they could still go see it and enjoy it.
Yeah.
They're not happy when it's like, oh yeah, for 2 performances, you
Two
can't go to the
performances
theatre.
in like a 12-week run. So they're doing what? 60, no, more than that. Like almost 100 performances and you can't go to 2. Like, calm your
Yeah.
shit.
But I remember them saying somewhere that it was an adaptation of Blackout Nights. So it was tickets would be primarily focused to going to Black audience members, but you could still buy tickets if you weren't Black.
You can still buy the tickets if you're not Black because they can't say if you're not Black, you can't buy a
that's
ticket.
like legally that is discrimination or affirmative action, depending how you look at it.
I'd say I would feel very uncomfortable buying tickets for a night where it is a blackout night, even though
It's
you
like,
legally
guys,
still
here's
can.
the thing. Again, it's a 12-week run. I can go another day.
Yeah, go literally the next day. Or I think one of the matinee. Go a couple hours later. Rishi Sunak, are you going to go see this play?
Rishi Sunak, if I turn up
I roll up
slave
play
and you're there,
it's on site. That's a joke.
Much like my mincemeat review, joke.
Rishi Sunak,
not serious.
It's called Operation Mincemeat. You will have to pay £80 for the back of the theatre.
You'll love it, Rishi.
But you'll love it, Rishi. So good. Anyway, moving on. Onto some more infuriating news. Hilton Battle will finally be getting a full dimming of the lights. We said last week that they said they were finally going to dim them, but actually it came out that there were only about 6 Broadway theatres dimming the lights. Because they couldn't get the other theatre owners to agree to it. And my response to that is sort your shit out.
I don't know. Like, I feel like there's not much more I can say than it's fucking stupid. The lights should have been dimmed from him.
Yeah.
From the beginning. From the moment we found out he died.
Yeah.
There should have been arrangements made.
Oh, 100%. I saw a really interesting TikTok about it, and I might link that again because they said it more eloquently and better than I could. So I'm just gonna link to that. Yeah. But anyway, Broadway League, sort your fucking shit out. Broadway League, you know what? It's on site.
We're racking up a whole list of enemies.
Operation Mincemeat, Rishi Sunak, the Broadway League.
Put Andy on there. Like, I would fight Andy if the opportunity arose.
Yeah, we do call him
immediately
the biggest idol and biggest enemy of the podcast. I hate him, but I love him. The Big Little Things closed, and they recorded a pre-shot for wide release. I believe that was the release. Very exciting. As 2 people who missed it because we weren't in London, and then the one time we were in London, tickets were really expensive.
Yeah.
We're very glad that there is going to be a pre-shot so I can go enjoy it.
Yeah, I've wanted to see it for a while. I'm excited to go and see it.
Chris Colfer from Glee. Well, he's like a New York Times bestselling children's author now. But he's Kurt from Glee.
Great guy.
I fucking love Chris Colfer. Reacts to Rose's Turn, his version of Rose's Turn, going viral and making its way onto the Billboard charts. Yeah, no, when Glee was a
Kurt's Turn originally came out.
Yeah, Kurt's Turn. I now think the lyrics to Rose's Turn are everything's coming up Hummel. If I was Patti LuPone, I'd be fuming right now though, and that's Patti LuPone's right.
Kate.
Kate Middleton's found, but
it's not
really?
Her. It's not her.
Like, has she actually been found?
And then did you see the thing before? They were like, oh yeah, she's going to return to public duties at Easter. And now they said no, she's going to return for Trooping the Colour.
I've heard 9 months.
I've heard some more theories. I've heard she's pregnant with another man's child.
Oh yeah.
Which would be crazy. I've heard that William wants to break up with her.
I've heard that as well.
Yeah. The thing is, who cares? Like, they're just people.
They are just
abolish the monarchy.
Abolish the monarchy, but please, can they just keep doing insane stuff? They want to stay around.
I want like a Keeping Up with the Kardashians style.
Oh, I'd watch the show of that. Jake Gyllenhaal who now loves to make jokes about Jake Gyllenhaal.
But if I see that cheeky motherfucker.
Motherfucker. So, and Denzel Washington will be doing a revival of Othello. Big news for you.
Yeah, big Shakespeare fan.
And no one else. This is big news for them.
Big news for me personally.
And no one else. That's how I felt about the Gatsby casting announcement. I was like, this is big news for me and no one else. Did you see Mariah Rose Faith TikTok? And it was like stitching a clip of Jeremy being like, yeah, all of a sudden Has Been Hotel comes out and all of a sudden I'm really I'm like quite famous. This is what's gonna make me like really quite famous. And then
Did you
she's
see
like,
the thing?
And then she's like, oh, and she's like, no, Jeremy, you're A-list to me. And I was like, that's us.
Yes. Did you see the thing? It was on Twitter, and it was
Yeah.
like, it was a picture of Sydney Sweeney doing SNL, and she's wearing a cheerleader outfit, and it says Timberwolves. And Mariah's face responded like, Timberwolves? We fucking hated you guys. And then John Madison responded. It was like, we hated ourselves. I love the guy that like music.
Love the guy that like music.
Sorry.
Anyway,
it's all coming back to me.
Follow us on Mezzanine.
Also, Mezzanine. I'll link it on the Twitter.
I might link it in our show notes. Pray for good Olivier nominations. Do whatever ritual or manifesting thing you feel like if you're not religious. Decided to see the Olivier Awards. Anyway, so should we get into the Ratatouille-sical? It's kind of hard to talk about this.
In March 2020, something happened. Something across the globe.
For us, it was a week later than America.
Getting ready to take our GCSEs, I had not started revising.
I was sending myself off like mental revising. Anyway, so the Ratatouille-sical. I found a very good Time article which basically broke it all down. So it all started when Emily Jacobson, a 26-year-old school teacher from Hartsdale, New York, posted a squeaky-voiced a cappella ode to the Pixar character, Remy the Rat, last October. So it started in October of 2020. She posted this thing, and it's very much the Remy the Ratatouille, the rat of all our dreams.
Love that song.
I think it's honestly the only song from the musical I know.
I know some of the other ones, but I've had clips of them.
If you played, like, if you were to show me a TikTok of it, I'd be like, yeah, I remember that TikTok. But, like, I don't know it like I know Remy the Ratatouille, the rat of all our dreams.
It was because there was that stupid which still goes around today, I think, of the just person doing the really bad French.
Yes, I know exactly what you're about.
Whatever the fuck they say in it.
Yeah, no, I know exactly.
But yeah, it started because of that, and then there was this big obsession with Ratatouille.
And then
suddenly there was a Ratatouille-sical.
And then suddenly everyone was seriously doing the Rata, and like it started. And once
it's
started,
so hard to try and, because like with every other musical we've done, it's like Lin-Manuel Miranda read this book about Hamilton, and then he started writing the songs, and he wrote this song first, and then this one, and this one, and this one, and then he put it on at the White House, and then it became this massive musical. With a Ratatouille, it is literally one person was like singing this stupid little song,
posted it,
Remy, the rat of all our dreams, or whatever, and then suddenly there were 20 songs in a full production.
Yeah, like it's. I think we were all just bored. We had reached a point in the pandemic where we had just bored. Boredom had hit. It wasn't getting any better. In fact, it was getting worse. We all went stir crazy, and as a result, everyone decided to write a Ratatouille-sical. I remember maybe I might have had a couple of drinks and explaining it to my parents on New Year's, because you couldn't hang out with your friends that New Year's. So
we didn't.
Okay,
guys, I never got COVID. I have a note.
I've not got COVID.
Every single we talked about this last minute. I also don't know if it got cut. Well, we just bitched about our school. We spent because we talked about maths.
It was a 20-minute thing, and I edited it to 10 minutes. And so you actually,
that's pretty good.
Fun fact about my editing on that, you are hearing segments of a conversation that I edited together to be make sense of one conversation. Normally I don't do that, because we were naming people's names, and so we had to cut around that. And there was some stuff where it's you don't actually need to know how our high school worked on the day-to-day.
Yeah, I won't get into it too much, but basically we went straight back. We weren't in hybrid learning where we were sometimes in, sometimes not. The whole school from years 7 The only time we ever began doing online learning was January when they
So
went into the
yeah,
second lockdown. But like for the whole of autumn term, from September to December, we were
mhm,
in full time.
yeah,
So we had to take COVID tests every week,
yes, yes,
and we had to log them on multiple places.
yeah,
We had to log them, we had to send them to the school so they would
yeah,
let us in or know if we weren't coming in. We had to
yeah,
log them on the like NHS app. And then I also kept a log on my notes app in case either of those failed.
yeah, bored out of our fucking minds. And so everyone just needed a group project, and the group project was the fucking Ratatouille. And like there's the playbill, and you probably know what's the playbill. So the way that
The
it
like
kind
purple with
the
the rat
purple
and
one with
the
the
yeah.
Ratatouille, they have some really cool cover art. If you want to Google it, if I
I
get
think
it.
it's the thing. I think like using the phrase group project is kind of the perfect way to describe it
Yeah,
because
it was.
I think a lot of the drawback of this sounds kind of bad, but of like playbills nowadays and programs nowadays,
Mm,
sorry, Broadway and theatre in general
yeah.
is very stingy with money. They don't
Oh
like to
yeah.
spend a lot of money, but they
No.
don't like to pay a lot to
No.
get these well-designed covers. And so what you'll see a lot, I still just have the waitress one out, where it's the name of the show and then graphic design or a picture of an actor.
Yeah.
Because it's really easy to do. Like
Yeah.
Hamilton's a really good example. It's just a star with a guy on top. I
Yeah.
mean, again, we've talked about the shooting up thing, great
Oh
imagery.
yeah. That
But
popped off of
if
that
you
one.
if you go and look at all of your programs or playbills, you'll kind of
Mm.
notice they're all pretty basic. And that's not a
Yeah.
bad thing. It works, it does it
Yeah.
well, but they're all pretty basic. The thing with the Ratatouille, you just had these random people who had nothing else to do because we were all in lockdown. And so like,
Yeah.
yeah, fuck it, I'll design a playbill for the
For the
Ratatouille.
Ratatouille. Yeah.
I could just kind of do whatever, there weren't any guidelines.
No.
It's a perfect example. I'm getting really sappy about the
Yeah.
Ratatouille of what I think theatre should be and could be
Yeah. Yeah.
if we bothered at all.
And that's what people
But
really
instead,
liked.
you have, people making musicals and then casting their girlfriends in roles.
Allegedly.
Allegedly. Or you have, again, stunt casting, where it's just you need to bring in
Oh
people to
my
get
God.
money.
Should I tell you what I saw someone say on Twitter? So you know how
Oh,
Marisha Wallace has gone into the Big Brother house.
yes. Big
So
fan.
saw someone say, next time Marisha Wallace is in a musical, I better not hear anyone say it's a stunt cast. And I was like, it's still a stunt cast.
I'm gonna say this every episode from now on until we get like 1 million listeners and it will finally sink in. A stunt cast is not a bad thing. It's
Yeah.
like very, very common to cast famous people or popular performers in a
Yeah.
role.
Yeah.
The problem with stunt casting is when you're focusing too much on the fame and not on the talent. There's no problem with casting Jeremy Jordan and Eva Noblezada in The Great Gatsby. It's a stunt cast, yes, because they're both very famous and it will bring
I,
people in. There's no problem with
yeah.
that.
I'm not sure, like, I'm not the good gauge about how famous those two actually are, because to me, they're A-list.
I think it's the thing. I think The Great Gatsby musical, the one that's on right now, is
Mm.
very aware that their primary audience is people who are already into Broadway.
Yeah, yeah.
So and that's why they're doing, we didn't talk about as much in the news. Jeremy Jordan even knows on it to do these very weird TikToks. Pookie is looking absolutely gorgeous tonight.
No, so my thing with that TikTok is I don't want to see them actually doing that because you can tell they're kind of dead behind the eyes of like, why am I doing
Yeah.
this? I want to see them explaining to Jeremy Jordan what the fuck they're referencing.
Yeah.
Because like I believe that Eva Noblezada had some idea about what it was, you know?
Oh yeah. Surely a
She's like
little.
she's like in her 20s. There's
Yeah.
no way she had no idea about what Pookie was. Jeremy,
Yeah.
on the other hand, don't think he had a fucking
But yeah,
clue, mate.
I think
But
The
yeah,
Great Gatsby is aware that their primary audience already knows who Jeremy Jordan and Eva Noblezada are.
yeah,
So are
they're on
using
the
their names to
market.
draw them in,
Yeah, no,
which is
100%.
fine. That's what they're there to do. They're also
Yeah,
great performers and fit very well into the roles. The problem comes with people like Boy George, where for some reason Moulin Rouge is under the impression that they're not well known enough and that they need Boy George to bring
yeah,
in people. And it's there are sorry, I'm getting too into this again. But there are
Okay.
certain roles in shows that are even intended to be stunt cast. In Jamie, everybody's talking about Jamie.
Oh, Miss Hedge.
But Miss Hedge, I
Yeah.
feel like the drag queens sometimes it's very easy to get
Yeah,
well-known drag
yeah,
queens in on
yeah.
that. Roles like that where they're not main roles
But they're in it
and may
enough for
not even
people to
have a song.
justify going to see it.
Yeah. It's like I talked about this before, I don't know. Again, I don't listen to these episodes. I record them and then I forget about them. But there's this joke song that I feel like a lot of people know, the song that no one likes. And it's just a joke about these songs in musicals that are sung by generally older male characters that are meant
Oh,
to be very
yeah, we
deep.
spoke about this with Waitress.
Yeah, but it's like Take It From an Old Man.
Yeah,
And there's a line in that song which is literally like, I'm an old famous Broadway legend, which is why everyone clapped when I came on stage.
yeah,
There are roles that is a stunt cast. That
yeah.
role is written to be a stunt cast. It's
I've been
not a
lis
bad thing.
I've been listening to one song and one song only from Spam a lot lately, and it is Whatever Happened to My Song by sung by the Lady of the Lake. And it's where Spamalot gets quite meta, I believe. I think it's always meta, but it gets quite meta when it goes, and I'm constantly replaced by Britney Spears because I think the Lady of the Lake literally comes on, sings one song, and then
Yeah,
leaves.
this is what Broadway could be. Where it
Yeah.
was literally, I don't know what the actual casting process was like for the final product.
Let me in on the conversations you had to have
Yeah,
with some of these people, please. It's like how I need to be a fly on the wall when they had to explain to Jeremy Jordan what Pookie was.
yeah.
I want to be a fly on the wall. We had to explain to Andre de Shields what the Ratatouille was.
I want to say like what was his name, Kevin Chamberlain. I have a memory of him just duetting one of the songs and
Yeah,
singing.
yeah. No,
So I
no,
feel
this
like
is
part
what
of
it
it was
was.
that these people just decided, hey, you know what? I have a stupid idea for a verse. Let me sing it. And then
Same with
a month later, they were contacting me like, hey, do you want to be in our production of the
I
Ratatouille?
think that's also how Andrew Barr Feldman got involved.
Yeah,
Andrew Barr Feldman, his career is insane to me. I love you.
look it up. It's incredible.
His Wikipedia page is one of my favorite things of all time.
When
Um,
you're in like community theatre or high school theatre stuff, or
yeah.
even like the stupid devising things that we had to do for
Ugh, hate
GCSE, if you
devising.
remember those. It's just this weird collaborative group project. What if it was just depression all along? Okay,
I
Esme's
wasn't
devising had this great line, which was, "It's just depression."
I said many times, hey guys, can we change that? And no one listened. So I
But
watched
it's
now what react to that line and it was one of the best
yeah,
things I've
it was an
experienced.
incredible experience.
I
Um,
didn't tell you it was coming because I was just so mentally checked out.
great devising piece. But some of you get these really stupid ideas, and you just have to
Yeah.
roll with them.
Do you remember yours that I once did a piece about based on Shallow from the Star A Star Is Born.
Yeah, once did one based on Bohemian Rhapsody for
Yeah.
some reason, and we
No,
had a guy named Darren get murdered. How did we get that from Bohemian Rhapsody? I could not. I
yeah,
actually,
ours I'm not gonna get into the plot of ours. Someone was a fridge.
but I think that's like these devising pieces weren't good by any
No,
means.
no.
They were really fun to do, even if
Yeah.
just to talk about them now, and be like, wasn't that so stupid what we did?
What the fuck were we on? We were 14 years old.
Yeah, and I think it's the thing. I think I kind of got this, which is why I don't do much theatre stuff anymore.
Mm,
Once you try to get into a kind of professional sphere of it, all
mm.
of the fun gets sucked out of it.
And I
And
think
I
that's what
think
everyone
like
needed after the pandemic, like during this time in the pandemic.
this is going to sound weird because it's also not true, like at all. But I do kind of look back on the pandemic fondly.
I look back on like particular moments like this, I look back on quite fondly.
I think it really changed. This is kind of deep. It really changed society in that like I dyed my hair like five different colors
Yeah, you did. It looks cool.
because it like I liked how it looked. I would never do it again. You saw, I think you get this kind of
I had a horrific fringe.
sorry, not yeah, but you know,
No, no, no. We can say yeah. I didn't cut that. My
yeah.
sister did.
But fashion did this massive 360.
Yeah.
Oh, you had 2010s fashion, very, very basic. Like you had some like subgroups and genres that were very out there. But then you hit 2020 and suddenly it was all like bright colors, sweater vests, these weird fabrics, these
I
patterns everywhere.
loved it. I loved it, guys.
Like, it was perfect.
Unironically,
I still like have some of that stuff. There's this sweater vest I bought because I
oh
saw it in 2020 and fell in love with it.
yeah,
And it's one that I wear so often because I just love it. And then we went back into sixth form. I
yeah,
was so worried about what I was going to wear because I was like, no, I'm just going to have to wear like jeans and a jumper.
yeah, same.
And you could just have fun.
Yeah,
Like,
I
yeah, we
wore.
all wore predominantly that stuff because it was school and we got bored, but people had fun with what they were wearing. No one really cared anymore.
No
And
one
I really
cared.
liked that.
There's a pandemic about. I unironically am the proud owner of pink tights. I bought pink tights this week. I'm so excited. Every day I inch closer to dressing like Harper from Wizards Waverly Place. And I think that's a great thing.
But yeah, I think
Others,
that was kind of my
yeah,
point about that. It was just this kind of time where everyone was doing whatever
yeah,
because there was no reason not to. Like,
yeah,
we were either all gonna die to the virus
yeah,
or we were gonna be stuck inside for the rest of our lives.
yeah.
So
Like
you
those were the
may
two
as
options
well
at the
write a
time.
musical about Ratatouille.
So yeah, exactly. You may as
Why not?
why the fuck not? Yeah, so people using duet feature, added background music, melodies, choreographed dances, build dioramas on a moving stage. One even invented a fake playbill. With RJ Christian, the 21 New York student and composer, sorry, saying a video can be recontextualized and repurposed and passed around, die and come back in a different way. So basically the parts of this musical were scattered around.
Yeah.
And I remember once just sitting in our sixth form cafe and just going through it and being like, what the hell is going
Yeah,
on?
we were just like talking about it.
Because it's a thing. It's the Ratatouille school, it's a thing. So Lucy Moss would direct the Ratatouille school,
Insane.
which is kind of crazy. Michael Breslin and Patrick Foley, who run a Brooklyn-based theatre company called Fake Friends, made a splash with their critically acclaimed virtual production of their play Circle Jerk. This fool co-wrote the book to the Ratatouille musical, saying they connect with Remy's struggle to that of young creatives and earning fame on TikTok. It's a great marriage of form and content. Ratatouille is about a young chef or artist who wants to make a name for himself, but has very few tools to do that. He has a great amount of ambition and talent and succeeds in the face of establishment. He forged a new path, which makes a lot of sense with what's going on with TikTok right now. Yeah, everyone's just like finding their way to TikTok, but things really started to change when Jeremy O'Harris, as we talked about earlier, love him, he found it and alerted one of his friends and went, let's do it.
Why not?
Why
What
the
else
fuck?
are we putting on?
Literally, what else are we going to do right now? Theatre's non-existent. We all have the time. Let's do it. So Emily Jacobson, who was the first one to write the song, was surprised that Disney gave the green light. Now, the legality of this. Disney gave the green light because it was a charity event. It was a one-night only charity event in help of the Actors Fund, which was a cause that was very much needed back then.
Yeah.
It was good press for Disney. It was free press for them. They could be like, we're letting this happen. All proceeds go to charity. Look how good we are.
Again, it's like they were. I know this for a fact. I want to say as well, fuck Disney.
Yeah, obviously.
Bad company.
Yes.
But anyways, they were, and they have opened it now. They were opening a Ratatouille ride. Obviously, there wasn't a ton of press around it because of the pandemic.
Yeah.
So to have people write a whole musical for free and put it on, they were like, yeah, fuck it, why not? That's another thing. Again, I just think this was a very great example of what theatre could be. Because these people who were not getting paid, were not gaining anything from it. Outside of the theatre community, very few people know what the fuck the Ratatouille is. They might have heard of it in passing.
Yeah.
But they're not gonna be like, oh yeah, the Ratatouille, the well-known one-night only charity concert.
Yeah.
But they were doing it because they wanted to, which is what theatre should be. Not because you have to make ends meet or because this is the only work you can find right now.
Yeah. I mean, Lucy Moss was working odd hours of the night throughout Christmas to do this because, again, what else was there to do? We were in another lockdown in the UK by this point. But the Time article makes it very clear that we should not get our hopes up for yet another for Ratatouille to make its way to the pandemic. Disney and CV have made it abundantly clear that this is a one-time only project designed to raise enough money to keep Broadway afloat during COVID-19. Disney has no plans to officially adapt it. Perhaps it'd be too challenging to create a musical narrative from film without songs already in it, like Frozen. Maybe the irony of Disney showcasing rats in the middle of Times Square doesn't fit the Disney brand.
School. It was for freaks on TikTok. It was just for people who wanted it in 2020.
It would happen on the 1st of January, and it'd be live streamed through Datix. So I think you could like buy a virtual ticket and then like get access to the live stream. And I think it was available for a while, and you could buy the playbill.
I never had any proper plans to watch it, but I did really want the playbill.
Oh, same. I just didn't because I didn't have any money at the time. But yeah, the cast would be stacked. The cast would be absolutely fucking stacked. So it'd be Wayne Brandy, Titus Burgess, Kevin Chamberlain, Andrew Barthelman, Adam Lambert, Priscilla Lopez, Ashley Park, Andre DeShields, and Mary Tesla. Yeah. It would have a virtual red carpet hosted by Crystalline Lloyd. It raised $2 million for the Actors Fund.
Yeah.
Which is honestly the best. Fun anecdote is Andrew Barthelman had a Rummy the Rat plushie. He said he must have bought it back in like 2008. Apparently he put it on the floor and started singing doing his lines to it. And it's like, nice. I don't know, man. But I think the biggest takeaway from this whole experience was you can make a musical on TikTok and have Broadway stars be in it.
It was fun.
It was interesting. As I said, the biggest takeaway from the Ratatouille musical is it's kind of fun to watch a musical be developed on TikTok into a finished product. You know, it's entertaining. And musicals from TikTok can make their way into the real world, you know? TikTok does actually have an impact on the real world in a meaning. Huh?
I think the thing with Ratatouille was that it was never going to make it into the real world. That was the whole thing about it.
No, but like it could be something more substantial than people just singing on TikTok about a rat, you know? I think that's what.
But that's all it was.
Yeah.
Like the whole thing I'm saying about the Ratatouille musical is that it's not a real musical. It was never going to be staged. It was never going to be an in-person thing.
Yeah.
It was something that a group of actors, some of who were famous, some of who weren't, some of who might become famous, some of who we've never heard from again.
Yeah.
Decided to do because they were bored during lockdown and they thought, fuck it, let's write a musical about Remy the Ratatouille, the rat of all our dreams, stage it for charity, and do it for fun and then move on. The next musical we're going to talk about got a bit too big for its boots and did try to make it into the real world.
I think
I have a whole point about these kind of musicals, but I'm waiting until the end to say it.
Okay. You told me you were like, I've got something to say.
I've got a point
to say it.
Everything I'm saying, it's leading up to something.
Oh, okay, interesting. Because I think the reason why I'm saying what I'm saying about the Ratatouille musical and almost being like this blueprint is because in a lot of publications that I've been reading about trying to explain what the unofficial Bridgerton musical is, it almost starts with the Ratatouille musical.
I do kind of agree with that. That's part of my point. I've got a line of argument.
So the unofficial Bridgerton musical, 9 days after the Ratatouille benefit concert on the 10th of January 2021, Abigail Barlow would pose the question on her TikTok, what if Bridgerton was a musical? And then start singing Oceans Away, which is like, what a beautiful party. I'm staring up at the ceiling a lot. The chandelier is so sparkly.
I love contemporary musical lyrics. They're just so good. Sondheim could never.
This is what killed Sondheim, guys. The unofficial British musical killed Sondheim. We were talking about this
earlier because basically we were talking about, this was literally at like New Year's or thereabouts. We were talking about Mincemeat, and I said, do we just not like contemporary musicals?
Yeah.
Like, do we just not like that style of music? I'm beginning to think that might be the problem.
No, we just don't like it when it's lazy.
Like, I like Be More Chill, and even Dear Evan Hansen to an extent, and like Heathers.
Yeah. I
would call those all like contemporary.
I also think something like Bake Off is very smart and funny in places. And that's got a very similar sound to Bridgerton.
I don't know. I'm just very picky. We've established that throughout this podcast. I'm very picky with musicals I like.
We're judgmental. Anyway.
I'm a hater. At heart, I'm a hater.
You couldn't tell by our Operation Mincemeat reviews. We're haters.
We're haters.
Someone in the and then they do I Burn For You. Then people would comment stuff like, "This is the next Hamilton." Lizzie
Is it?
McAlpine would be like,
Is
"Amy
it?
played Daphne. Don't you worry, Girly Pop." Someone mentioned Ben Platt. Top
Again,
comments. These are top comments.
I'm gonna start hinting at my big thing.
Okay.
I think that these kind of comments
Yeah.
are missing the point,
Mhm.
which is that immediately they are going to some way to make this popular and to make
Yeah.
it, from an economic perspective, profitable.
Yes. Yeah.
Lizzie
Yeah.
McAlpine, Ben Platt, if you had those names in a musical, people would go. And again, it's like this adaptation thing. Bridgerton, very big at the time, still big to
Bridget.
like now,
Yeah.
but
Bridgerton.
especially big at the time.
Yeah. It was one of the most viewed things Netflix has ever put out.
Yeah. And so imagine if an actual Bridgerton musical came out. It was called
Mm.
Bridgerton the Musical. It had
Mhm.
Lizzie McAlpine. It had Ben Platt. I don't know who else, a ton of other people. People
I
would
think.
go see it.
Yeah. People would go see it.
And I think that's the problem, is that if you start a musical, not even the creators themselves, but fans with that kind of mentality, it's never going to end too well, in my opinion.
Within 8 days, they would be interviewed by the BBC.
Jesus Christ.
That's how
Get a life.
no, there was nothing going on.
There was a pandemic.
Yeah, the BBC Arts aren't going to be reporting on the pandemic. Then they would like write Fool for You, and I found it funny because someone said it has the same vibe as Satisfied from Hamilton. And then another person was like, it sounds like it's an Eponine song, and I was like, don't say that. Don't say that. Anthony Bridgerton, the guy who plays him, I think that's Jonathan Bailey. He would say he would be asked about it in an interview 12 days after it was written. 18 days after the first song was written, the cast would be asked about it at some kind of like roundtable event. And there was just the normal fanfare of people like making it. Like it was basically like a repeat of what people did with the Ratatouille musical, but it was less collaborative because the songs were being written and then fed out, and then everyone was coming up with stuff based on that instead of making their own songs, So Barlow and Bear, no, Abigail Barlow and Emily Bear took ownership of this immediately.
Yeah. Again, I find it a bit weird.
They would write 14 songs in a little over a month with people like Joshua Henry and Samantha Barks singing the songs, with Bear saying on the matter, we're seeing idols we've looked up to for years sing our music, and we're just sitting here like, is this really happening? They would also say, the process is gatekept and the shows are gatekept too. If we can somehow lift the curtain and start to lift up a little bit more than we had before and show people the process and not hide the ugly parts, then that feels like a win. Which is a good idea and a noble effort.
Yeah, you do kind of only see the same few people putting on shows.
Yeah, no, 100%. I'm going to say this now while we're still early. I really rooted for Barlow and Bear. I really did, because I agree with their ethos and what they were trying to do. I agreed with their message. I agreed with the fact that they were two young female composers, make theatre accessible to the masses. All things I agree with. They had a dream cast in mind. Someone asked them. Would include Bettina Miller as Lady Danbury, Cynthia Erivo or Audra McDonald as Queen Charlotte. Cynthia Erivo, I could see her as the Daphne. Not so sure about Queen Charlotte. Anyway.
Yeah.
Barlow herself would want to play Daphne, which is like, Lynn, is that you?
I don't hate. You know what?
Fair enough.
I respect that.
Anyone who wants to cast themselves in their musical,
If
okay,
you write a whole musical because you want to play a character, go ahead. I would do the same if I could.
Yeah, they would just continue normal activities of live streaming. They got a notice from Justin Paul of Dogfight fame and nothing else. Say, tell me you've been writing this for years, except that's not possible. It's basically praising us and being like, they're great.
Aww.
I'm sorry, I don't want to know what the guy who wrote Dear Evan Hansen has to say on the current state of musical theatre. On the 4th of August 2021, it would be announced that they would be creating an unofficial Bridgerton musical concept album, with it being released on September 10th, and it being released on all major streaming and downloading platform services. They would say that it would be independently produced, with Barlow saying it being, when it first started to blow up, they had a few conversations with labels, but none felt right. We knew that we wanted to capitalize on the moment, and we knew that the faster we released, the better. With Bear saying, we could have gotten an orchestra and a cast, and that would have taken a lot of time and money. Why sign a deal and not own all of our masters and publishing? We were like, we'll just put it out ourselves. I remember the night the album came out and we saw it climbing the charts. We had fans who were constantly bugging us to release the album. So we knew we'd have listeners. I didn't expect that much. They would then say that they were going to perform at Bicester Village in the UK.
Sure, why not?
In August. And I was like, I have no idea whether or not this happened. I don't think it did. But interestingly enough, they would also perform at LC Fest, Darren Chris's festival, on the 25th of August 2021. You know, like, likely place for the Bridgerton girls to be.
Sure, why not?
Darren Chris's music festival. And I mean, I think Darren Chris did kind of take them under his wing because he saw what they were doing, quite similar to what he did with the Harry Potter musical.
I don't think that like Barlow and Bear were money hungry or anything.
No, I don't think they were.
I think it's completely understandable that you see all the success that you're getting and you think we could make money off this.
Oh, 100%.
That's completely fair. Like, it
That's
doesn't change the fact that
normal.
they did it because they wanted to.
Yeah, no, 100%.
It started from very pure, ideas.
Yeah. It started from a pure place of literally Barlow, Abigail Barlow being like, oh, what if this was a musical? And like then made it.
Yeah. It feels like it's like what I said earlier. I think they did get a bit, and this isn't a thing against Barlow and Bear. I think they did everything just as they should have.
Yeah.
I think it's more the fans and the concept got too big for their boots.
I think the
In that the fans were like, do a production of this. The fans were like, you should cast these people. The fans were like, going to Elsie Fest.
I think it's one of those situations where if you're actually put in that position, you can say, we don't want to just be known as the Bridgerton girls. We don't really want to make too much money off this. We don't really want to make it our brand. And then people are saying, go perform at this music festival, put out an album. And you're suddenly like, oh, okay, it's always been my dream to perform at festivals. It's always been my dream to put out an album. You know?
Yeah. Like, I have nothing against them for what they did. I think they were living the dream, basically. If I had the opportunity to do that, I would take it. 100%. I think it's just like, I'll get into this.
Yeah.
But what the kind of idea around these original musicals became. Oh yeah, there's like idea of what original musicals became. And the idea that everything should be an original musical and everything should be an original musical to make money. But yeah, I have nothing against the Bridgerton girls, Barlow and Bear. I think their music was really good. The idea was really good.
Yeah.
It just kind of all fell through.
I have questions about some of the moves they would later make. Like, I just have questions. And I don't think they're legally allowed to share.
I think it's this kind of thing they got themselves in too deep. Not by any actual fault of their own. I want to know who they had advising them. That's also one of my big things. If they have had anyone at all. Because I can see how you get into that situation. Because again, they were literally saying, we have no knowledge of this field. We have no idea how to get here. We have this opportunity. We're going to take it. And then it all kind of just got pulled out from underneath them. One of
Emily Bear, she had actually released albums before. So I think she did have some knowledge. But again, this was bigger than anything she'd done before. So I don't know, man. They would then perform at the Kennedy Center with an event called Kennedy Center at 50. They would perform once again with Darren Criss. So this is what I mean by Darren Criss really did take them under his wing in a way for a couple months.
Which is also very like, I feel like I'm saying this too much, but I want to make it very clear this isn't anything against anyone involved in any of the musicals. Like, everything they were doing is very admirable. It's very good, for lack of a better word. It's just, it all kind of fell through. We'll get to it. The album would come out as planned and go straight to #1 on iTunes and then would stay at number 6 for the rest of the weekend. They would be on Forbes under 30. Now, gotta ask ourselves, there's a good musical theatre scandal brewing, good musical theatre moment brewing. And who's the man who likes to find himself at the scene of the crime or adjacent to the scene of the crime? Oh God. Our good pal and worst enemy. Oh God. Andrew Lloyd Webber found himself at the scene of the crime. Oh my God. In service of Bad Cinderella the musical. I mean, again, respect to him for trying to get new people into theatre.
I
But
found
my
this.
God,
I found this and I went, Andrew Lloyd Webber at the scene of the crime. Who would afford it?
it's the thing, when it comes to theatre, I think Andy does make good decisions. Like his whole thing about trying to keep them open during the pandemic
Yeah,
and trying to find ways for people to make money during the pandemic.
yeah,
Like objectively pretty good. This whole
yeah.
thing about taking these young female composers under his, well, not under his wing, but
Mm.
helping them out
Hanging
to
out with
see if
them for
they
an
could collab.
afternoon. Yeah,
Yeah, like objectively a good or at least nice
oval
thing to
cause.
do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So
Like, my God.
I know. They would hang out in November 2021. They would go to London and talk about possibly collaborating, according to Forbes. They would make a video of Andy with him voicing Lady Bridgerton in one video. Very funny. Highly recommend. And they would do a mashup of Bridgerton and Cinderella.
Jesus.
So Andrew Lloyd Webber's 2021 was almost getting arrested in the name of Bad Cinderella, DJing the Phantom Block Party, and hanging out with the girls from the Unofficial Bridgerton musical.
I mean, it's great.
I wish to have a year like Andrew Lloyd Webber had in 2021. Right. So they would be nominated for the 2022 Grammy Award for Best Musical Theatre Album, going against Girl from the North Country, Andrew Lloyd Webber's Cinderella, the world premiere of Burt Bratcht and Steven Slater's Some Dies, Les Mis, the staged concert, and Steven Schwartz's Snapshots. They would go on to win the award. I remember watching them win this award because I'm a little freak who watches the Grammys pre-broadcast.
Right.
I was glad that they won it. I was happy for them when they won it. I cheered. It was a good moment. Yeah, again, amazing moment when they won the award. They would thank the internet with Barlow saying, a year ago, I asked the internet what if Bridgerton was a musical. I never would imagine we'd be on stage holding a Grammy in our hands. We want to thank everyone on the internet who watched us create this album from the ground up. We share this with you. In an interview with the New York Times a day later, they would be asked about the likelihood of it being staged, with them saying, it's a bit out of our court because we don't own the IP, but we felt like it would fit perfectly on stage. We see it so clearly, so Netflix, you know where to find us. Everything would kind of go a bit quiet on the Bridgerton front.
Yeah.
Until they would do a concert at the Kennedy Center on Tuesday, the 26th of July, 2022. All promotional material for this show would state that it is unofficial, so it'd be the unofficial Bridgerton musical in concert. And they would have it in small print. The Bridgerton is a trademark of Netflix and used with permission. The event is not endorsed or sponsored by Netflix or its partners. Again, truly insane cast, being Michaela Diamond, Jason Gauthier, Saleha Pfeiffer, Emmy Raver Lampton, Ephraim Sykes, Danae Benton, Kelly O'Hara.
Jesus.
Big names in the musical theatre world. And the Kennedy Center, fucking massive. 2,500 seats. So, big achievement. Tickets would range from $29 to $149 plus VIP upgrades. It would sell out. So they were making money from Bridgerton now. The line had been crossed.
It's the same thing that we saw with the Ratatouille musical, where it was literally, they made it very clear they were not making money from it. It was all going to charity. And Disney publicly endorsed that and said, yeah, it's fine that you can put this on as long as you are not making money off it. As long as it goes to charity, we are fine with that. If you were making money off it, we would not be.
Yeah.
So I feel like knowing all of that, and if every article you're reading about it is citing the Ratatouille musical as the starting point for the Bridgerton musical, you should be aware that probably you cannot make money off it. Otherwise, you're going to get sued.
I remember thinking around this time, because again, I was kind of following it. I remember thinking, oh, they must have reached some kind of deal with Netflix. Netflix might be getting a cut of the percentage. I just remember thinking they'd made some kind of deal.
It was like, yeah, I was thinking there must be, because at this point I was aware of what was happening because it was massive.
Yeah.
I was aware that either Netflix was, or I thought at least, that Netflix was getting a cut of the money. It was promotion for something, as in they would have one of the songs in the new season of it. Something like that. Like they'd get some notoriety from it.
Yeah.
But ultimately, Netflix had copyright over it. It was their intellectual property. To me, at least, it was and I have like very little knowledge of like law and copyright law.
I've read the
But
lawsuit.
yeah, but it's very obvious that they were aware, Barlow and Bear were aware they did not have the intellectual property. They were aware that
That
Netflix did. They were aware they
mhm.
had no, like, what did they say? They said, Netflix, you know where to find us.
Yeah, yeah.
They made it very clear they'd had no conversation with Netflix over it.
I
And
couldn't
Netflix let
believe
it go on a lot.
I could not believe that that quote was in the New York Times. I read that and went, "Oh my God." I'm going to quickly talk about my thoughts of Bridgerton like as an album. It's good. It's fine. I think it could have been a lot more interesting. I would have liked to have heard it done with a full orchestra. I think it could have leaned more into the classical styling instead of going so pop. But other than that, some of the bops are
Yeah.
fun. I don't really listen to it very often. Those are my thoughts on the unofficial Bridgerton musical. On the 26th of July, 2022, days after the sellout Kennedy Center performance, Netflix would file a lawsuit against Barlow and Bear, with the suit alleging that defendants Barlow and Bear, this is taken from the lawsuit which I have read. I'd like it to be known, I read a lawsuit. It was actually really easily to understand.
Which is very
Um,
interesting. It does seem like they made it accessible of
yeah.
like why they were, I guess because it was so popular and they had such a fan base
Mm,
that they needed to make it really, really clear why they
yeah.
were in the right and why they were going to win this lawsuit, regardless of how good their lawyers were.
And I don't know whether or not it's because like I was very familiar with the story leading up to it that I was able to be like, oh, like I get what they're saying. But it's probably a mix of that. With them saying defendants Abigail Barlow and Emily Bear and their companies, Barlow and Bear have taken valuable intellectual property from the Netflix original series Bridgerton to build an international brand for themselves. On July 26, 2022, over Netflix repeated objections, Barlow and Bear staged a massive for-profit stage show entitled The Unofficial Bridgerton musical album live in concert to a sold out audience at the Kennedy Center, with tickets ranging up to $150 and VIP packages. The live show featured a dozen songs and copied verbatim dialogue, character traits, and explanation, and other elements from the Bridgerton series. It caused dramatic portrayals of Bridgerton characters by Broadway actors emoting through their performance to songs that comprise the musical. The musical's in quotes. Although throughout the performance, Barlow and Bear misinterpreted to the audience that they were using Netflix's trademark with permission, whilst Netflix vigorously objected to Barlow and Bear's conduct, began on social media, but stretches fan fiction well past its breaking point. Really, I'm like skipping a bit. This is a really interesting part to me. When asked directly, Netflix told Barlow and Bear time and time again such works were not authorized. Yes, such
Yeah.
works. Um, Barlow and Bear chose to move forward with the knowledge and release the album recording, which they titled The Unofficial Bridgerton Musical. Each step of the way, Barlow and Bear's representatives assured Netflix, so they did have a lawyer, assured Netflix that they understood Netflix's position and led Netflix to believe that Netflix would be consulted before Barlow and Bear took steps beyond streaming their album online in an audio-only format. Barlow and Bear's agents said that the girls had no interest in interfering with Netflix's right and did not want to be known as the Bridgerton girls. They also said Netflix offered Barlow and Bear a license that would allow them to proceed with scheduled live performances or at the Kennedy Center and the Royal Albert Hall, includes distributing the album and perform their Bridgerton-inspired songs as part of larger programs going forward. Barlow and Bear refused. That was a really, really interesting part of the lawsuit to me personally.
I think at this point, at least according to the lawsuit,
Yeah.
Netflix is trying to make it very clear Barlow and Bear are at fault for actively going against Netflix's wishes. Because if they had said, like, for example, if Netflix made it clear that this was actually the first time they were reaching out and that they had had no issue with anything else Barlow and Bear had done, but now they've had a problem,
Yeah.
Barlow and Bear would have a very good chance at maybe not winning the lawsuit, but at
Mm.
least counteracting it a little.
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
they can
yeah.
say, well, you never reached out before. We did all of this stuff. We talked directly to you. reached out to you, at least through the press, and you
Yeah.
never had a problem.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
now you do because you've seen how profitable it is. That's a very good defense. Well, not very good, but it's a pretty solid defense. Not even if what actually happened was Netflix is saying, actually, we have reached out to you multiple times and said, please don't do this. This is our
Yeah.
intellectual property. And
Yeah.
it seems at least that they've made it clear that they don't want to sue.
Yeah.
They like what they're doing. They think it's really good,
Yeah.
but it is ultimately their intellectual property, and they want to come to an agreement on how they can both coexist. And Barlow and Bear
Yeah.
refuse.
Yeah.
And whether
I
it was that their lawyer advised them that continuously calling it the unofficial Bridgerton musical would
mm,
grant them some leeway. It's like oh god, what's the show called? It's called like Ostentatious or something.
mm.
The like Jane Austen improv show.
Oh my gosh, yes, I know exactly what you're on about. Pride and Prejudice, sort of. Is that what you're on about?
It's something like that.
Yeah.
Those shows and stuff is in the public domain now. But even if it wasn't, you can kind of get away with it because you are not taking direct quotes. You are not
Mm.
directly portraying the character. You are not directly portraying the same story like Barlow and
Yeah.
Bear were doing. Barlow and Bear were taking a story that already existed, characters that already existed, lines that already existed, putting some to music, and then putting on a
Yeah.
show, which you can't really do without express permission. You
No.
know?
And like parody working in a musical, I mean, oh God, off the top of my head, there was a Hamilton parody musical that ran off Broadway. You know,
There's five right now with Jane and Betty, E.T.
yeah,
That's the name one. You can get away with parody musicals very, very easily. You cannot
yes.
get away with directly adapting a story that already exists.
And that's how Harry Potter was able to like function because they were like, this is obviously parody.
Yeah, yeah. Like Star Kid, we're gonna do a whole episode on Star Kid.
Mm,
It's great, but they are very clear. So they have a Harry Potter musical and a sequel and a senior year. They
mm,
have Annie, a Star Wars parody. I
mm.
want to say they have another one, but I could not tell.
Would
Oh,
Twisted
Twisted.
parody?
Twisted
Yeah, I was about to
counts.
say.
But when you are watching any of those, like watching a Harry Potter musical, you're not
Mm,
sat there thinking, this is Harry Potter, but with
yeah,
music. When you're watching
yeah,
Annie, you're not thinking, this is Star Wars, but with music. When you're watching Twisted, you're not thinking, this is Aladdin, but with music.
yeah.
They're all separate stories. Some of the times their names aren't even exactly the same.
It's stretched so far to the point where it's like, if you see this and
Yeah.
genuinely think this is canon, are you okay?
It's like Twisted completely changes who Aladdin is. He's a 33-year-old orphan or whatever.
Orphaned at
Orphaned at
33, who just
33.
steals everything because he can.
Ahmed, who's just not a character in Aladdin,
Because
but
no
he's
one
in
remembers
Twisted.
him.
No one remembers Ahmed. You have in Annie, I genuinely love Annie as a musical. It's a great show. If you even have a little understanding of Star Wars, I recommend watching Annie by Star Kid. Incredible show. But while there are things that are definitely from Star Wars, it's not a Star Wars musical.
Yeah.
It's just ridiculous.
Yeah, so there was this really interesting article in TechCrunch. It will be linked, where it says historically fan works have sometimes been deemed legal under fair use doctrine, which states that the copyrighted material can be used without explicit permission. With a lawyer who works at an legal team for Organization of Transformative Works, says, I've seen a lot of people implying that because Barlow and Bear are commercializing it, that it means it's not fair use. Whether something is commercial or non-commercial is part of the fair use analysis. But it's part of only one factor. Fair use analysis looks at the purpose of its works. Is it for profit? The amount of copyrighted material uses, the nature of work, and how the work might economically impact the original. Like the unofficial Bridgerton musical is going to impact Bridgerton, the show.
Yeah. I think it's stuff like I know a lot about fan fiction, but it's like think on YouTube. If
Yeah.
you've ever seen like React YouTubers, there's always
Yes.
controversy around them because they're like, these people aren't doing anything. They're taking someone else's video, putting
Yeah.
their face cam in a corner and being like, wow, that's so cool.
And they're
Wow.
saying it's fair use.
Yeah, because they're transforming in some way. They're like, oh, we're adding commentary. And it's
Yeah.
like technically that is true. But it's
Mm.
stuff like I don't know if how many other people know about this. There was this big thing on Twitch
Mm.
where streamers would do these long, long streams, like multiple days long.
Mm.
And while they were sleeping, they would put on episodes of Kitchen Nightmares or like Hell's Kitchen, like the Gordon Ramsay shows, just to have their chat watch while they were away.
Yeah.
And it became this big copyright thing because they actively weren't there. They were
Yeah.
sleeping. They weren't adding anything. They were just playing these shows for their chat. And that's copyright infringement, re-uploading content essentially. And that will impact them economically.
Yeah.
If you could watch something somewhere else, why wouldn't you? You know?
Yeah.
I think with
I-
fan fiction, it's this big thing of like fan fiction is pretty much inherently transformative. You take these characters and you either rewrite them completely. Like I've seen people do, I'll out myself this.
okay.
There's this author, fanfic author, that I love. They've been writing
Yeah.
consistently since 2016. All they
Yeah.
write, Voltron fanfic. Love it. Insane. But they have an ongoing series of them rewriting every single Voltron season, all 8 of them. And that's not copyright infringement, that's transformative. They are not
Yeah.
writing the same story, they are changing the characters to fit this new story. Sometimes they add characters, sometimes they take characters away. That's transformative. You can get away with that. Bridgerton, the unofficial Bridgerton musical, could have done that.
Yeah.
Even just the introduction of an original character, like an OC into this musical, probably would have been enough to keep away
Yeah.
a Netflix
Yeah.
lawsuit. Just being like,
Yeah.
and then these 2 women called Emma and Abby come in, and they're the coolest women that Bridgerton has ever seen. Like,
Yeah.
even that would be enough.
Like some new women are entering the season. Bretschler would go on, who's the lawyer. There have been examples of commercial fan works that have been deemed in the court fair use, though there isn't much case law and precedent, since these disputes are often long settled before they can reach a judge. There's a very strong non-commercialization norm in many fan communities. Rebecca Trushnet, a Harvard law professor who works on the legal team for organization of transformative works, which runs AO3.
OTW, thank you. Thank you for protecting us.
While the work is commercial, it has more to do in terms of adding something new, criticizing, parody, or shedding new light on the original. Your average work of fan fiction is not commercial. So people were very concerned about the wording in the lawsuit. If this goes to a judge, what kind of precedent is this going to set for fan fiction? Because the initial claim specifically says this stretches fan fiction.
I think that kind of should include them in. That they were clear that it stretches fan fiction, that fan fiction is fine.
Yeah.
The unofficial Bridgerton musical was not fine because it wasn't fan fiction. It was adding music to Bridgerton.
Yeah, I think the thing that was cited quite a lot was the Anne Rice case as well in this. People were like, oh, this is that.
I think the thing is, I don't think that Netflix ever intended to actually sue Barlow and Bear.
No.
I think they wanted to make a very public statement because if you take what they're saying in the lawsuit as completely true, which we kind of have to because you don't really make a lawsuit on fake claims.
Yeah, you can, but like
but like Netflix probably shouldn't.
This kind of makes sense though. That's what kind of sucks about it.
But if you're taking what they're saying in the lawsuit as complete fact, they are saying that they have tried to reach out privately multiple times to stop the unofficial Bridgerton musical. It's never worked, so now they are publicly suing them to stop the Bridgerton musical. I don't think they ever intended to actually sue them. They would have if it had come to it, but they never intended to.
Yeah.
They did intend to tell Barlow and Bear and anyone else who was, and this again links to my point, who was seeing Barlow and Bear do this, all the success it was bringing them, all the people they were meeting, all the people they were working with. I thought, I could do that. I could do that with a different Netflix show. What else is popular? I could write a Squid Game musical. Why not? And they wanted to make it very clear, no, you cannot. We won't let you.
Back away.
I think people were getting overly scared of the lawsuit. And like, oh my God, they're gonna kill fan fiction. We'll never be allowed to write fan fiction again.
Yeah, someone's coming for my headcanons that's got 10 views. Help
like,
Netflix.
No, you're fine. They're not going to sue you. No one's gonna sue you over fan fiction.
Yeah.
Just to be clear. They might, but they probably won't win if you can prove it's transformative enough, which you usually can.
But there was like
Um,
a massive, like, people were scared.
yeah,
I think it was more of a, can you guys just please stop making money off of our intellectual property? Like, that's all they
yeah.
wanted them to do. And the lawsuit served its purpose. I am incredibly intrigued to know what the terms of that, I know I'll never know, but you know, I want to know what the terms of the agreement was to let them play the songs.
I think the thing was, once the songs were out,
Yeah.
they couldn't really do anything. I think it was the fact that doing a sold out concert, planning another one, it
Yeah.
was clear they were aiming for a staged production.
Like,
Even if
yes.
you knew nothing about the musical and that they said before they wanted to do a stage production, you could see that's what they were gunning for.
Yeah.
It's why a ton of shows do concerts, like Bonnie and Clyde concert. I would
Oh
even
yeah.
say the Love Never Dies concert, the Bear concert.
We're praying. We're
I
manifesting.
Yeah, I think they're all kind of testing the water
Yeah.
of being like, do these people want to see this show properly?
Yeah.
Or, you know, are they just coming to see Norm Lewis? I was definitely only going to see Norm Lewis and Love Never Dies and Celine Schumacher. But yeah, it was very clear what Barlow and Bear were aiming for. And Netflix, even if they thought that Netflix was fine with it, clearly Netflix weren't. So
Yeah.
they kind of had to stop at some point. And the music is still out. I don't know if Netflix gets the royalties from it now.
No, because they just stopped doing their live performances. And it's also like, it's not like they're going to, I don't know what's it called, 54 Below and putting on a concert. They're going to the Royal Albert Hall. They're
Like,
going to the Kennedy.
stupid ideas have gone to 54 Below.
Yeah.
And that's fine. Like, this isn't a dig at shows that go to 54 Below.
Love 54 Below. I spent
It's
many
a great,
hours
it's
of
like the other Palace,
yes.
where it's
They
just you can
doing a
put on
concert
these
for
stupid
Palace.
shows.
So on the 23rd of September, the lawsuit was tossed by Netflix. With Netflix saying plaintiffs Netflix Worldwide Entertainment and Netflix Studios LLC hereby dismiss this action with prejudice. The last two words with prejudice are in a brief notice of the voluntary dismissal that means the matter was closed and done. So no Royal Albert Hall on the 20th of September. No more lawyers to bill by the hour. But an explanation as to why the streamer has suddenly pulled the plug on the suit that started back in late July against the Grammy-winning songwriting team. The plaintiff streamer is supposedly quite satisfied with how this dispute was resolved. We hear. This is from Deadline, so a reputable source. I've not gone onto the deeps of Reddit to find this. Also note, Friday's dismissal comes one day after Barlow and Bear were supposed to file and respond to the complaint, a deadline they didn't make, and now we know why. And I was reading a Slate essay, which was basically saying they probably had to sign NDAs to get this lawsuit to go away, so we will never know. And I think Abigail Barlow, I get them confused. Their names both start with B, last names both start with B. That does not help with the dyslexia. Anyway, Abigail Barlow got on TikTok and she was like kind of humming one of the songs, and she was like, when you've spent so long writing these songs and now you can't perform them because of a lawsuit. And I was like, that's shady.
I think the thing is the fact that they never even had a response to the initial complaint. I hate to say it, because again, I don't really have anything against Barlow and Bear. I think they were doing a pretty good job. It's just I think they knew they were pushing it and they wanted to see how far they could get and if they could do a stage production.
Yeah, I wonder.
And the second they got that complaint, I think they were the ones that were like, okay, we'll stop doing it.
I think they were smart enough to be like, oh shit, we're really out of our depth here.
I also think they were, like we're aware, they were also definitely aware that Netflix wasn't going to sue them.
Yeah.
Unless they really pushed back against it. Netflix wasn't going to sue them. And if they did push back against it, they weren't going to win.
Yeah.
So once they got the note being like, hey, we're suing you, if you don't stop this, they were like, okay, we'll stop.
Yeah.
And it does kind of suck, but
I just want to know who. I know I'll never get the answer to this, but I want to who said what on the decision for them not to take that deal. Hey, anyways.
NDAs expire, so
NDAs do expire. Come on, girls. I know you're messy enough to give it to me.
anyways, my point.
Your point that you've been leading up to all episode.
I don't even think it's that good. I feel like I've overhyped it a bit.
Oh well, stick with your guns.
Um,
If we've learned
I
anything from
think,
this episode, be audacious.
yeah, I do agree with this idea that the Ratatouille school got the ball rolling. Where basically people realize, hey, you can just write a musical. And it
Yeah.
doesn't have to be like, I'll say this right now, I love the Ratatouille school. It wasn't groundbreaking.
No.
It was good, it was fun. It was not this groundbreaking piece of music.
Yeah.
But it made people realize, hey, you can just have fun and write a musical about a film that came out in 2007. Why
Yeah.
not? And then you've got Barlow and Bear who were like, yeah, we could just write a musical about this ongoing Netflix series
Yeah.
where the Ratatouille knew its limits, where it knew Disney wasn't going to approve an actual musical. So it did a
Mm.
charity concert, which it would look bad if Disney was like, no, you cannot raise money for charity.
Yeah.
So they're like, you can raise money for charity, but that's it. That's kind of fine. That's what you're expecting,
Mm.
Disney. They do that, and then they finish. And people still talk about it, and people have the stuff from it, but
Yeah.
that was it. While I'm there, when, yeah, we could write a musical, and then we could make an album, and we could release it, and then we could
Mm.
stage it, and we could do concerts, and then we could go onto Broadway. And
Mm.
Netflix said, no, you fucking can't, because that's our property.
We will let you know when we want if we want you to do
If
this.
we want to write it. And the thing is, none of that have been successful. It's just come out there doing Moana 2, not Lin-Manuel
Exactly.
Miranda.
Yeah.
That's incredible. It was
That's a
successful.
big deal. But
Yeah,
when the news came out, everyone was like, "Oh, the Bridgerton girls. Nice to see you guys
Bridgerton
again."
girls. But I think the thing is, both of those musicals in particular, which TikTok musicals, have created, well, it's very nice, this idea of you can just make a musical, why not? I think that's very fun. I think that's what theatre should be. It's now become anyone can make a musical and do whatever they want with it. And I think in sometimes that's very good. For example, in like 2020 and 2021, there was an ongoing joke where people would be like, POV, you're auditioning for TikTok the musical in
Yeah.
2040.
Yeah.
I was like, haha, yeah, they'll make a musical out of anything. For example, there was this guy, I forget his name, but he's on TikTok as well. And he wrote or was writing the Sephora Girls musical.
I think I've seen this.
Yeah, about those like 10-year-old girls that you'll see in Sephora. It's a good musical. I've listened to some of it because it comes off my For You page. The songs are good. There's this one
That's
in
an
particular where he
interesting.
hits this note and it's really good. It's a great musical. It sounds great. Why would you write a musical about that? Why not?
That's an
But then
interesting
you go in
thing
the,
if done right.
yeah, and it's not the kind of thing you'll ever properly see on stage. Like that's not going to go to Broadway. There's no reason
No.
for it to. Sephora girl, like 10-year-old girls,
Yeah.
kind of weird.
There's a woman named Molly Russo on TikTok. She's fucking hilarious. She's writing a
Mm.
Dance Moms parody musical.
Yeah, the Pyramid
The
musical.
Pyramid.
It's again, it's not a bad idea. It's again, write a musical just because.
Mm.
I'm trying to think of how to phrase this in a way that doesn't sound. It has very much, both of musical very much inspired. Write a musical just because for fun, which is what I've been
Mm.
trying to say throughout. The idea of writing a musical should be fun.
Mm.
What isn't fun is what I think the Bridgerton musical added to that statement,
Yeah.
which is write a musical just for fun, just because you can make money. And I think with the addition of the like TikTok Creator Fund, just generally influencers being able to make a whole ton of money, it has become commercialized. And I think the idea of where it's different from like Star Kid
Yeah.
is Star Kid have been doing this for years, for like
Yeah.
over a decade, I would say. And yes, they make money off those musicals, but it's always been very clear they're putting them online so that people can see them, not to make money off them.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And they're writing these musicals just
Mm.
because they're fun. And I think maybe I'm being naive here and like hyping up Starkid too much. I don't think that they're in it for the money. You know, I don't think they sat
No.
down and wrote the Hatchetfield trilogy for money.
I don't think because
You could
here's the
not
thing.
have predicted the success of the guy didn't like musicals.
I don't think they could have even. Yeah. They really spent many of their years where they were still successful living on a dream and
Yeah.
a dime, basically.
I think my point kind of is the TikTok musicals of 2020 to 2022.
Mm.
So not that long ago, but it
No.
feels like a lifetime ago.
Yeah.
I was gonna say something, but that's the wrong phrasing. I was gonna use the phrase lowered the bar, but that's not true because they are all good musicals. Like, it's not that people who are shit at writing musicals are now writing musicals.
Yeah.
It's that people who previously would have never had the opportunity to write a musical
Mm,
now are. And that's very good. But I think it's become this idea of anyone can put a musical on Broadway, which isn't
yeah.
true. And then you see stuff like not Anne Cinderella, I was combining two. Bad Cinderella.
And Cinderella, I'd love to get drunk and watch.
Um, Bad Cinderella, where the standards have gotten significantly lower. But because
Mm,
it's a famous name, they put it on.
mm. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about sometimes unfinished work being out of the public domain. TBH. Gonna have to like do some more thinking about that, but that's my current thought. I like the thing that annoys me so much about what happened in the end and the way it all went down. It was such a beacon of possibility and change in an industry that
Yeah.
quite often refuses to change.
It did very much feel like Netflix closed a door that had just been
Yeah,
opened.
yeah,
Like it suddenly became no one's going to be able to write a musical ever again. You're going to get sued. Which I don't
yeah,
think is true. I think it's because it's very hard to write an original musical.
yeah,
Like, for example, there's this joke one that I love right now on TikTok. It's called Flat Earthers. It's just about the idea of a musical sung by people who think the earth is flat.
I think I've seen
It's a
that.
funny concept. It's going to be a comedy if it actually happens. But
Yeah,
that's an original concept.
I think about the amount of times that an episode started and I've gone, this musical is based on this. I mean, in the past couple of weeks we've done Spring Awakening, which is based on a play, Waitress, which is based on a movie.
Whereas I'm gonna like everything has kind of been done. It's very hard to come up with like a fully original idea.
No idea is original.
Like there's and I don't even think that it was necessarily TikTok that started it. For example, there's this Instagram account I still follow, and I followed them in probably like 2018. They're called
Mm,
Two Maiden Ladies, and it's this musical that this person is writing who's written other stuff, which is based on this true story of these two women who were, I'll say allegedly, they definitely were, but allegedly
mm.
lesbians in like the 1880s. And I think it sounds really good. I really like all the concept songs of it. And they're hoping to stage it one day. Or at least
Yeah,
they were in like 2018. So I don't think that necessarily this idea of anyone can write a musical is new and because of
yeah,
TikTok. I do think social media as a whole has like upped it in how
yeah,
many you see. But I don't know, I feel like it's this constant flip, the Ratatouille musical side of it, of write a musical because you want to, because it's fun, because why not?
because it's a group project.
Yeah, and the Bridgerton side of it, which is write a musical because you get fame from it. And
Yeah,
I say Bridgerton side not as in what I think Bar and Bear were doing when they started writing it, but as in what happened to it
yeah,
and what people took from it, which is write a musical because you can get famous. Because even if you can't stage that musical, you can get hired to write Moana too.
yeah. I feel like we've talked to the Bridgerton musical to death. I will
Yeah.
continue thinking about the lawsuit forevermore. So thanks to them. Thanks actually for them for providing that to me. It's given me so much entertainment.
Uh,
Next week,
Annie,
Annie, Annie the
not the
musical,
parody musical.
not
Actual Annie,
Sparkin.
Little Orphan.
Little ginger orphan Annie with the red dress. Um, I might rewatch the 2014 movie. I love that
I
movie.
love that movie. Great movie.
So good.
We'll talk about the Olivier nominations as well.
Obviously, Annie is
Obviously.
not going to be as long of an episode, so we will talk about the Olivier nominations.
Good show. We've all done it.
I'm not. I've done bits.
Have you not? I've done it.
I've never done Annie as well. Anyway, follow us on social media. We're funny over there. Get our reactions
Follow
to
us
the
on
movie.
Mezzanine.
Follow us on Mezzanine. We'll put out our usernames. Get us being funny other places. And that's it. See you next week for Annie. Bye.